you all a very good day. Today we are going to explore a very interesting and humorous poem titled How to Tell Wild Animals, written by Carolyn Wells. Children, at first glance the poem may seem like a guide to identifying dangerous wild animals. But as we read closely, we will realize that it is actually a very clever piece of satire. The poet uses humor, irony, and exaggeration to describe how one might so-called identify wild animals like lions, tigers, leopards, and bears. However, instead of giving practical advice, she suggests absurd and dangerous situations like being eaten or attacked as ways of recognizing them. This creates a comic effect and keeps the readers engaged. Now, the main purpose of this poem is to entertain. At the same time, it playfully makes fun of instructional or educational guides that try to simplify very complex topics. The poet shows how ridiculous it would be to identify animals in such risky ways and makes us laugh, while also appreciating her wit and creativity. Now, from the exam point of view, what are we to watch out for in this poem? Because apparently it will come as a piece of entertainment. But from the exam point of view, keep in mind that you must understand the humor and irony used in the poem. You must be clear about the poetic devices, especially rhyme scheme, alliteration, and repetition. Then also focus on how the poet describes each animal, because these descriptions are often asked in exams. Be ready to explain the central idea that the poem is not a real guide, but a humorous take on identifying wild animals. So also practice short answers explaining why the poem is considered funny or satirical. Now, as we go through the poem, pay attention to how the poet blends danger with humor. Think about why these exaggerated situations make the poem memorable. So if you're ready, let's begin. How to tell wild animals. If ever you should go by chance to jungles in the east, and if there should to you advance a large and tawny beast, if he roars at you as you're dying, you'll know it's the Asian lion. Or if sometime when roaming round a noble wild beast greets you with black stripes on a yellow ground, just notice if he eats you. This simple rule may help you learn the Bengal tiger to discern. If strolling forth a beast you view, whose hide with spots is peppered, as soon as he has leapt on you, you'll know it's the leopard. 'Twill do no good to roar with pain, he'll only leap and leap again. If when you're walking round your yard, you meet a creature there who hugs you very, very hard, be sure it is a bear. If you have any doubts, I guess he'll give you just one more caress. Though to distinguish beasts of prey, a novice might nonplus, the crocodile you always may tell from the hyena thus. Hyenas come with merry smiles, but if they weep, they're crocodiles. The true chameleon is small, a lizard sort of thing. He hasn't any ears at all and not a single wing. If there is nothing on the tree, 'tis the chameleon you see. So children, do you see how the poetess has used humor to no extent in order to create this poem? It is this humor which makes this poem memorable, and definitely it is a satire, because otherwise there is such a kind of a black and white way of telling or teaching how to differentiate between wild animals. differentiate between how the different types of wild animals are. So why not look at them in a little humorous way and try to remember? So there, she starts in the first stanza with the Asian lion, and she explains that he's found in the jungles in the east, and speaks about his movement and the way he roars. It is with that you will know that it's the Asian lion. And then she calls the tiger, the Bengal tiger, as a noble beast, a noble wild beast, with black stripes on a yellow ground. So that's how he typically appears to be. And then she says, just notice if he eats you, this simple rule may help you learn. See the humor in it. After eating you up, after you're no longer going to be there, it's going to help you learn that it was the Bengal tiger. And then she speaks about the leopard being peppered. She uses wonderful rhyme to explain how to identify a leopard. And then she speaks of the bear and the bear hug, and how dangerous bears can be. And then she goes to the extreme of comparing a crocodile to a hyena, which actually, in a way, they have nothing in common. And then, very funnily, she says that hyenas come with merry smiles, because they're supposed to be giving that wicked smile. They appear to have that wicked smile on their face, and crocodile tears we are well aware of, right? So if they weep, they're crocodiles. And then she comes to the chameleon and the lizard, and the only difference, she says, that the chameleon doesn't have any ears and not a single wing. And if there's nothing on the tree, it's the chameleon you see, which just means, she highlights the fact that a chameleon can camouflage itself in the trees, in the forest. So that's how humorously this poem comes to us. Let us enjoy it, as well as try to pick up her style of adding humor and satire as she expresses some simple concept like identifying the differences in the different wild animals. So I'll join you again with the next lesson or poem, whatever comes in the flow. Till then, bye-bye.